Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Fintech Nexus weekly news show. My name is Peter Renton, chairman and co-founder of Fintech Nexus, coming at you today from our studio in New York City. I've been here all week, and joining me literally in the office next door, right through that wall, is Kevin Travers. How are you doing, Kevin?
Good. It's great to have you here.
Yes, great to be here. Love this city. And Todd Anderson had to pull out at the very last minute, and he has some family issues he has to attend to. But Kevin and I are going to take the baton and run with it. So let's kick it off. Story you wrote, I think it was just yesterday or the day before. I can't remember, Kevin. But Alex Mashinsky, the CEO of Celsius. We've been covering Celsius on the show for several months now, and it looks like the Alex Mashinsky reign has come to an end. He resigned. Kevin, you wrote this piece yesterday. Why don't you tell us what's going on here?
Yeah. So right a couple weeks after, we've been following the story for about 4 months, 3 months. Mashinsky was on our stage. So I was actually set to talk to him. And then his company, Celsius, stopped lending. They shut down because they fell into this whole bankruptcy debacle. And now this week, he said in a letter and a press release, he was going to step down. He's still going to hold the reins a bit, trying to help restructure, but no longer managing the day-to-day or whatever day-to-day there is as the CEO of a firm that's in Chapter 11. Now, we've been following this story very precisely. I know Isabel Castro, she wrote a great timeline, our other reporter, of the situation, and now it's heavily punctuated because the man we always lead to is now no longer at the front. I know it's sort of insane, but they're putting the CFO up instead of him to be the interim CEO, I guess, as long as the interim will last. I don't even know what that means, because are they going to get another one? They might not be a company.
I don't know. It'd be hard to recruit for that job, I would think, if you're trying to look for an outside CEO. Hey, come join this Chapter 11 company.
It's restructuring. It's great. We're going to sell crypto coins as debt somehow.
That was another story, I think, this week, which was kind of crazy as well, related to that.
It's truly nuts. I mean, the CFO, who is it? It's Chris Ferrero. He was there for the past 2 years, the past couple of years. So he's seen their lack of funds, the holes in their budget, and still been CFO. So who knows what his reign over the Chapter 11? I guess he knows it better than anyone, but
yeah,
I don't know. They've always had the public stance that they're doing great, but they weren't. So
yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Also, given where they were at, it's very surprising that Alex Mashinsky decided to actually come speak at our event, because we actually had on that panel we had another person pull out just because of all the craziness this was just after the lunar crash, and a lot of craziness going on in the crypto markets. He must have known he was in trouble, but he came to speak at a public forum anyway.
He was fired up. It was like, we're the future of banking, and banks don't have your back. I was excited to talk to him, and then 2 days before my interview, I'm sorry, we don't have a company. So,
right.
And I was like, I don't think our interview's on anymore, is it?
Yes,
it's like, nope.
Yes, indeed. Okay. Anyway, let's move on. Another really interesting story this week from Square. We knew this was coming. Square is supporting, well, obviously they're called Block now, but the point of sale program is still called Square, and they're supporting Apple's tap to pay feature on iPhone. So now if you're a Square merchant, you used to have a dongle of some sort. The original one you plugged into the headphone jack, and they don't have headphone jacks anymore, but they've had a physical piece of hardware you've had to operate with. Now they sort of beta tested this earlier in the year, and now you just need the Square app, and using Apple's tap to pay feature, your phone is simply your payment acceptance device, and you can accept credit cards. So super interesting. I mean, contactless payments, it's huge in Europe, and it's becoming a lot bigger here. And clearly, Square or Block thinks that people are, that's going to be the way of the future, and people are going to pay this way.
Yeah, it's awesome. I got to show you this cash-only sandwich shop right near our office that will probably use this, because I use Zelle when I don't have cash. But I can imagine using this all the time for NFC chip technology. We use it to get on the subway here in New York, and I would like to see this in a consumer version too. So sort of like Venmo, except you can use your card to pay with someone's phone as consumers. I mean, as like a person.
I bet you that's coming. That's
like if I could tap my phone to yours to give you $20 for beer, that would be really cool. That'll be cooler than what anyone else is doing.
Yeah, no, I mean that will be coming, but I think it's also, I mean, just all the places that, I can imagine that, you might be, at a social situation where, or something, when someone said, "Oh, I'd love to buy this piece of this,
Yeah,
whatever your salsa or your jam or your shampoo, whatever it is that
farmers market.
you
That's
have."
yeah.
Farmers markets obviously have been a big thing for Square, but just you don't have to be, you don't have to have your piece of hardware
You
with you
don't
to
need the
walk in.
hardware. I
You
wonder how
just
that's gonna affect it, like, because they do hardware sales, I guess, but
Well, I mean, I think they've always known this was, the hardware piece is, it had a life that wasn't infinite. So it's all going to be done with software, and I think it makes tremendous sense. It's better for the environment. It's more efficient and less friction. So I think it's awesome. So
it's
anyway,
awesome.
moving on. Now we're going to talk about the old technology, Swift. We all know about Swift, which is the way you send money internationally still today. Um, they are, they're very much old technology. They got like, I don't know how many banks. I think it's more than 10,000
It's like
banks around the world.
11,000 or something.
11,000, yeah, around the world that are connected to their system. But they, with the crypto kind of moving into money transfer, a lot of companies doing remittances now. They're partnering with Chainlink. And Chainlink's a crypto company that sort of focuses on the data and analysis side, and they're developing this CCIP, which stands for Cross-Chain Interoperability Protocol, like TCP/IP, but it's CCIP, and it's basically going to be able to communicate between multiple blockchains. So if you're trying to send money from Ethereum to Bitcoin, whatever, it can all be done inside Swift, and it's just a proof of concept right now, but good to see Swift trying to get with the program of new ways to send and receive money. I think. What are your thoughts, Kevin?
Yeah, it was announced at SmartCon, and I was there today. That's why I'm sort of dressed up, but I missed this specific presentation. But I did see a ton of Chainlink fans following around Sergey, the
Right.
founder, like a celebrity, like he's the inventor of Facebook, like he's Zuckerberg. It's insane, the devotion. It's really for years, but now they're partnering with this giant international sort of old-fashioned banking payments setup, and I don't know. So it's like it's sort of come to the conflict with like crypto is supposed to be decentralized everything, and they're enabling their sort of cross-chain bridge stuff with a really old traditional finance. But it's also big for traditional finance implementing assets, digital assets, and off-chain
Yeah.
assets like mingling. I think it's cool. I also think that we've seen a ton of hacks with bridges between blockchains. A
Yep.
ton, like billions have been lost. So it's going to be interesting to see how Chainlink does it, because they always say they have the best security for it.
Right, that will be interesting because I think the Swift people realize, probably in 10 years' time, you're not going to be using the same, Swift will not be processing international transfers wires the same way they do today. I think that's a pretty safe bet, and so they know they've got to start. Who knows whether this thing is going to take off, but something in 10 years' time, when you send an international transfer, it's going to be instant. It's going to cost very little,
Yeah.
and it's going to not go on the same rails I have today. So kudos to them for getting this going. Okay, moving on, talking about JP Morgan. Now, JP Morgan, this is talking about their UK operation. They're a year old. I've been wondering how they've been going because they launched sort of their retail bank in the UK about a year ago, and they're doing, seems like, really well. I mean, Bloomberg had a piece, the FT had a piece. Clearly, they've getting the word out. They've got basically 1 million customers now, which is it's not bad, and they've got the average customer has in savings, a savings account at JP Morgan, £27,000 in savings. So they've done 92 million card transactions. They've got 1,000 UK employees now, and so they're really doing pretty well. And in fact, they're doing as the only one the other comp that they're obviously going to be compared to is Marcus. Goldman Sachs, and Marcus has done a little bit better than what Chase has done. But good to see the big American banks making headway in the UK, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean they're huge here. They're the biggest. It feels like they're end all be all, Chase and especially Marcus. So it's cool to see them in the UK. I think about how, especially recently, we've seen such scary economics coming out of the UK. How that it's like it almost seemed like this week was this funny time to release the 1 year data. But I'm happy to see they've done well so far.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it is. I mean, Chase is still, it's the largest bank in this country. It's one of the largest banks in the world, and clearly they think the UK is a market where they can get some traction, and they have been getting traction. So, it's a digital bank, so they don't have a whole bunch of branches. Like here, walking through the streets in New York, it feels like there's as many Chase branches as there are
everywhere.
Starbucks. They're everywhere. Can barely go for a couple of blocks without one. But you feel, I mean, with this digital bank, I mean, who knows? They don't share the economics of how the bank is doing. We have no idea about that, and don't know if they break it out on their earnings calls. I'm guessing probably not, but one to watch. They've done well. Okay, moving back to crypto now, and FTX. This is We've talked about Voyager Digital on this show a lot since they declared bankruptcy. This is one of the biggest fall from graces in all of crypto. They were several $1 billion, publicly traded firm on the Toronto Stock Exchange. FTX won the auction for their assets. I don't know what those assets are exactly, but $50 million. There must be something. The deposits, this is crypto deposits on the Voyager platform, around 1.3 billion. Obviously, that's customer deposits. FTX is not going to get any of that, but they obviously think that this is, I don't know what the size of their customer base is, but Voyager is now, the assets of Voyager rolling into FTX, it looks like.
It's crazy. It's crazy that there was a bidding war between FTX and I think Binance was also on the list.
Binance was. Well, I wouldn't call it a bidding war. It was a bidding kind of competition. I wouldn't call it a war because I don't think either of them felt like, oh my god, we've got to have the Voyager digital assets. We're going to pay anything for it.
What do you think? I think the coolest thing they're probably getting is data. Frankly, for all data crypto people are, it's if you have an address that interacted with Voyager, it tells you everything about that consumer, and there might be models out there that could predictive tech on what that consumer is likely to do or how to get them involved in your or FTX, or I'm not even sure, but it's even better than an email.
Right. Yep. Okay, so moving on, this is a company that I've been following from day one, Nova Credit. And if you don't know Nova Credit, if I'm an immigrant to this country, so I arrived here with no credit score. I remember being declined for a $500 credit card at Macy's back in the day. That was back in the 90s. And it takes a long time. You sort of have a certain status in your home country, and you come here and you're treated as if you're barely human. So, what Nova Credit does is they allow you to they work with 20 different countries now. If I was moving over here today as an Australian, they work with Australia. I could say, right, bring my Australian credit history over with me, and then then they're working with American Express, and this one they're working now with HSBC, so you can go and get a credit card, apply for a loan, and they can use your foreign credit data. So they've got all the credit data from all around the world. They normalize it so it's all basically the same. They kind of extract all this data, and that's really their secret sauce, is how they do that. And now, so immigrants, they got this agreement with HSBC. HSBC actually invested $10 million in a funding round, but that's neither here nor there as far as I'm concerned. It's what's really interesting is HSBC is maybe one of the most global banks on the planet, and they're working with Nova Credit to help them, really make sure they have the right data when they're approving international people. So love this tie-up.
Yeah, it's awesome. I know it was one of their growth sectors, 5% growth in international personal banking groups from HSBC in 2021. And I know, anything that makes an immigrant's life easier is awesome. I should try to reach out and talk to someone from Nova Credit. And I know you talked to Misha, their CEO founder, way back in the day.
Yeah,
Or
I know Misha really well. He's spoken at our event. I mean, they won our pitch it competition. God, I think it was back in 2016, maybe 17. I don't know. It was back in the day. They won our. I think it was 2017. So that's when we sort of. That was when they were like 5 people and just didn't really have much traction. But I've been following because it's a problem. American-born people don't realize what a problem this is when you move and you can't get a bank loan, you can't get anything, and you could be earning $1 million a year in your home country and
doctor, yeah,
have a great thick credit file. You come here and you can't get a $500 credit card, which is stupid, and that's what Nova Credit is solving for. And eventually, this is going to be a solved problem, and a lot of it's going to be because of the work Nova Credit's done.
Nova Credit and people like them they're going to make the world of finance a better place. That's what the future looks like.
And what's really cool about this is actually not a US story. This is HSBC Singapore is actually going to be the first part of HSBC to launch this. So you're a US person going to Singapore to the US, Australia to Singapore, whatever it is, the HSBC are going to be able to get better access to data.
You can set up a new account in a new country before you even arrive there through this system, which is really, really cool because
that is cool.
It takes one more breath off your chest,
Yep, indeed. Okay, moving on from Nova Credit. Now, we're going to talk about an op-ed by Caitlin Long, CEO of Custodia Bank, used to be Avanti Bank, and she's been a keynote speaker at our events over the years. And this, it's funny because to be honest, I haven't really paid a lot of attention to the Lightning Network. And she, in this op-ed in Forbes, and I encourage you to Google it, it's banks are about to face the same tsunami that hit telecom 20 years ago. And she talks about voice over IP and how, the telecom companies had, billions of dollars worth of copper wire laid throughout the country that, with voice over IP became kind of worthless overnight. Now, now even all the physical wires, it's all done through cellular. A lot of it now is anyway. But her point is that they're basically the Bank of International Settlements is basically going to make a ruling that's going to make it harder for banks to use the new technology. And she talks about the Lightning Network as money over IP. So money over internet protocol, just like voice over IP. And she's very bullish. And I don't know about you, Kevin, but I haven't really dug deeply into the Lightning protocol until this week, until I read this op-ed. So what are your thoughts?
It makes me want to dig deeper because I know so many people say this is a solved issue with Lightning Network. I know Caitlin Long, we've talked to her before. I've had the pleasure of interviewing her. We were both there in Austin at a consensus event when she was like the level head of the group with Professor Gray and Circle's Dante Despart arguing back and forth over the future of the financial world through stable coins and through who is going to issue new currency. She's always played the middle ground. And now with this, this op-ed is really like, it's like a tidal wave. I know when it comes to her analogy or to her metaphor that there was copper wire and then there was broadband. By the time I got a phone, there was just cellular. So it was a solved issue by the time in like 2013 when I got a cell phone. That is what it will be one day for people in 2050, people in 2040. Right. So she's on the right track here that it will look completely different. And she's saying if regulators are careful, they will enable banks to be the new software providers and like managers of the financial system as they are now. If they're not careful, regulators will basically hand it to tech companies. And that's what she's sort of worried about. That is a crazy argument, but reading it just makes sense. It's like, there will be an evolution to this space.
Yeah, I think it's, the thing about the Lightning protocol, and it's a layer 2 Bitcoin protocol. So when you think about layer 2s, we've talked about them a lot on this show. It's always about the Ethereum network. And this is all about Bitcoin, and the Lightning network runs on top of Bitcoin. And the throughput, they say, matches the throughput of Visa today, which does, $900 billion a month in transactions. I don't know what that is per second, but it's a lot of transactions, obviously. Lightning Network is nowhere near that right now. It's just in the very early stages. But she's saying that this is such a big development that it could. And the fact that it's close to zero, the cost is less than one penny. So if you can imagine, taking it out. I mean, this is where I feel like MasterCard and Visa are in many ways in trouble, because their payments rails, they take they take their piece of the cut of each transaction. The issuing bank takes a huge cut as well, obviously, in the current payment system. But boy, if you could transact, and if you're a merchant, and Mike Cagney's Figure is doing a lot of work here as well. They already have a system in place where merchants can, I think it's like 95 basis points instead of 3%. So
That's huge.
you're saving 2%. That's a big
And the
benefit.
sign up
And
it
imagine
goes from
if this gets going. I mean, imagine you could be a merchant and say, right, I'll take payments, and it's going to be just a few basis points.
it takes an hour or an hour and a half, she says, to set up your endpoint to it with
Right.
your own processor, and not the 3 months or even longer that it takes to set up with traditional.
Yeah, I think this is really an impressive. It's an impressive piece of I guess we call it software, but it's an impressive protocol. It I have no idea. We don't know. Caitlin Long is one of the smartest people in the space, and she is very, very bullish on this. So I'm going to be paying attention. And if the Lightning Network ends up becoming the backbone of the payments network of the 21st century, you heard it here first. Okay, let's move on. I want to talk about Do Kwon, who is the founder of Luna, and obviously we had the Luna meltdown in May of this year, and he's been, he's a wanted man now. Interpol have his name, and they have what's called a red notice out, which means all of the major countries in the world, he is a wanted man. He's basically a fugitive in most countries. We don't know where he is. He won't say. They say that, given what's happened with Luna, he needs to protect his privacy. But the whole thing about this, and I actually have a little bit of sympathy for him, because, he's claiming that Luna isn't a security. And in South Korea, it looks like for the longest time, the South Koreans put up with, Luna isn't a security. That's where he started. And so Luna crashes, and everyone loses their shirt. And, it was a South Korean, entity that kind of, that started all this. And I think actually he moved to Singapore, but, he's South Korean, and South Korea had a lot to do with it. But it was fine while it was going up, and they didn't really take any action when they could have. And now it crashed, and they want to take action. He claims they have changed the rules to deem retroactively Luna a security, and that's not fair. So if that's actually the case, I don't think that is fair. And the fact is, Luna kind of crashed, and a lot of people lost their money. But if you put your life savings into Luna, then what's they say?
Where's the recourse? I mean, come on. It lost 99% of value after he was saying it's the financial future. Here's 20% on the dollar you can make. It crashed to everything. They said, you can't do that, and they try to arrest him. And he goes into hiding right away. And the defenders say his physical security is at risk. It's probably true. His home was getting broken into. People
lost their life savings. I mean, I know.
Everything, okay? But if
people
want to break into their home too, like, of course they do.
Yeah.
Maybe you're safer in a cell. Like,
there was a lot of people like your age in their mid-20s who had $4, $5, $6 million in Luna, and earning 20%. That's what you could stake your Luna and earn 20% on that. That's a lot of people earning $1 million a year just on Luna staking, and lost it all. So
at some point, there's got to be recourse. I mean, you need to. People will.
I don't know if there should be. I mean, if he's done anything illegal, yes. But I mean, I'm sorry, but if you have 100% of your net worth, or 90% of your, if 50% of your net worth in Luna, you were crazy.
There are people who will do that. That's the problem. That we read and know about this stuff, and we say, well, that sort of sounds nuts. But people they buy into it. I mean,
you can put all your money in a penny stock, and it can go to zero, and that's your bad luck. And so, and if there's anything illegal, he may have done. This story is going to play out. Who knows how long he's going to be on the run for? Whether he could be in Russia for all we know, and will never be found. But he eventually this this will work its way through, and I imagine, I'm sure he's got a team of lawyers that are trying to help, but he maintains he's not on the run, but no one knows where he is.
He's not on the run. He's just not.
More to come on this story.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to end with a story about Upstart, and this was in American Banker this week. Upstart, they had this no action letter with the CFPB that expired, and which was mutual. But then since then, there's been this. Someone's been monitoring. This is a voluntary thing that Upstart did. And to their credit, they really do seem to care about fair lending, and they want this to be the right thing. And we all know that Black and Hispanic borrowers are not approved at as higher rates as white borrowers. That has happened throughout history, and Upstart claim that they're really doing a better job than most. Apparently, they're not doing as good a job as many would like, and there's still a lot of disparity there. And I feel like, I like Upstart. I think they're a good company. They try, but there are people up in arms that they're not fair enough, is what it seems like to many people.
Yeah, they were audited and found that there was disparities in different demographics, that like non-Hispanic whites get higher approval rates on the same data too, right? Like it's not even different like approval ratings that they should get. It's just if you're Black Hispanic, you get worse approval rates. That's awful, and it's a known problem. And to Upstart's credit, they went to that. They said our credit data is based on employment things and education and other things that aren't directly related to normal credit scores, but we still derive a lot of data from that. And a lot of credit scores data we know are dated and based in like regressive concepts where people of different types just get worse approvals for very little reason or not.
Yeah. And there's more to come on this story, and it's clearly not, it's a difficult problem. Upstart, to their credit, they actually launched this new project called More Than Fair, which they didn't launch it. They actually collaborate with a whole bunch of actors in the industry to try and really get lending to be more fair. And I think there's more work to be done. I feel like we've come a long way. I think the online lending space has done a really good job, but there's more work to be done. And I think there's the data. There's a lot of data out there. Some of this data is proxy for race, and I mean, I don't think Upstart. I think they're really trying hard to make things to make their lending models fair. But people see AI lending models and they hold up a red flag. So
yeah, I mean, you saw it in PPP. You see it again and again that there's just disparities, and it's just so frustrating because it's pointless.
Yeah. Anyway, that is all we have time for. Kevin and I have to run to a happy hour right now, so we are going to end just a minute or two early. Thank you all so much for watching or listening, and we'll be back same time next week, and I'm sure Todd will be back on deck then. So thanks again, Kevin, and thanks everybody for watching. See ya.
See ya.